Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kylie Kendall, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my birth story. Well, technically it's not my birth story, it's my daughter's, but you get what I'm saying. So for those of you who are new, I have an 8-month-old baby girl. Her name is Harper Riley, and she was born on December 13th, 2019. Her due date though was actually January 1st. So obviously that didn't happen, but let's just go ahead and get right into the story. So it all started on December 9th, 2019, which was a Monday. I was going in for my 36-week checkup. I thought it was gonna be just like any other appointment, right? I'd go talk to my doctor, listen to the heartbeat, and then be on my way to work, but not this time. So I get to my appointment, and the doctor actually came in first before the nurse. And just a little bit of background, I was also seeing a high-risk doctor throughout my whole pregnancy. And so he had told me at my last visit that, you know, Harper was getting pretty big, and they had been closely monitoring her growth this, you know, my whole pregnancy, obviously. And he's like, you know, if you want to have a vaginal birth, I think it's time to kind of start getting things going. So do all that you can to kind of get her out. So, you know, start with the red raspberry leaf tea, start having more sex, start with some evening primrose oil, those types of things. So I had already understood that he said to me that she was getting kind of big. So my doctor walked in and she said, you know, I hear Harper's getting kind of big. It's no big deal. She's still like an okay. I think she was like 7 pounds 3 ounces estimated at this time. So at 36 weeks, which they said that's like, you know, it's normal. You can have big babies, but just for a higher success rate of me being able to have a vaginal birth, they obviously want to get her out sooner than later. So whatever. I actually had scheduled an induction that day for December 26th, which I was totally fine with. It was, you know, gives me, I think gave me like 2 more weeks or something like that, whatever. And I was fine with that, you know. So I just decided that, okay? So she walks out. Then in comes the nurse. And the nurse is like, oh, hi, you know, we're gonna get your weight and my weight. We all know about my weight. We're gonna get your weight and we'll take your blood pressure and whatever. So she took my blood pressure and she's like, oh, it's pretty high. Like, have you been having high blood pressure at home? Have you been monitoring that? And I was like, I haven't had it at any of my other appointments with my high risk doctor or anything. So she's like, okay, you know, maybe you're just a little bit worked up. You just did schedule an induction, which can be kind of stressful. So I'll give you a second, I'll come back. So she came back, still high. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna like turn the lights off, like have you lay down, just relax. I'm like, okay, weird. I didn't feel worked up or anything, but I'm always kind of, you know, worked up. So whatever. But anyways, so she leaves, comes back for the 3rd time, I think I'm on 3rd time. She checks it again. She's like, it's still pretty high. I'm actually gonna go talk to your doctor. I'll be right back. So she goes, the doctor comes in. She's like, I'm gonna check it for myself just to make sure. I mean, you know, whatever. She takes it. She's like, oh, it's high. She's like, okay, we're gonna give you like 15 more minutes. Okay, so they let me, I'm just laying there, and I feel like that's making me more nervous. I'm like, oh my god, I'm supposed to be relaxing, whatever, but I'm not, because now I'm nervous. So whatever, she comes back in, it's still high. She's like, you know, Kylie, I'm so sorry, but I think I'm gonna have to send you to the hospital, which luckily was in like the same building, so it was no big deal. But I was like, oh really? Like, I was shocked. She's like, yeah, we're gonna need to send you into triage. I just gave them a call, you know, we're gonna send you in, they're ready for you, whatever. I was like, excuse me though, I have work. So she's like, not today. I was like, oh, okay then. So, which is really stressful to me because I'm an acupuncturist, so I had patients. It wasn't like I just go into work and do my work and be done. Like, I had patients counting on their appointments for that day, so it's a lot tougher for me just to not show up, you know. Whatever, it was no big deal. Okay, I figured it out. So anyways, I call Ryan. I tell him like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the hospital right now, like it's no big deal, don't freak out, but I'm gonna have to skip work and whatever. So I contact all my patients and I get to the hospital and they get me into triage and they're just monitoring my blood pressure, and they have like a fetal, I think it's called like a fetal heart rate monitor or whatever. They were just like monitoring baby also. And I was just laying there listening to beeps and like other people's conversations, and it was just so odd because it was so unexpected. I was there for probably like 3 or 4 hours. They did like urine samples or tests or whatever, and we're checking, I think just for preeclampsia, which that I didn't have any protein in my urine, which was good, but my blood pressure the whole time never went down. So you know, after a couple hours, one of the nurses came in and she's like, hey, you know, your doctor wants you to call them as soon as you leave here. You get to go home, but you know, the doctor wants you to call them. They're gonna schedule you for your induction. And I was like, oh yeah, I already scheduled that, like December 26th. And they're like, no, like within a day or 2. And I was like, oh really? They're like, yeah, you know, they don't want this to, you know, escalate any further, and just for the safety of you and your baby, they really think it's best if you go ahead and schedule within the next 2 days. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I'm not ready, you know. And then I start panicking, like, wow, I got kind of scared for the first time. I had not been scared of like giving birth like the whole time, and then when it's like actually coming true in like a day or 2, yeah, you get kind of nervous. Okay, So anyways, I was like texting Ryan the whole time, and I'm like, he's like, you know, I'm not going to work today, I'm staying home, like, because he was like freaking out. He's like, should I come? I was like, no, just stay home, it's no big deal, you know. But anyways, so then I get home and I'm like trying to scramble. Oh, and something else, they're like, yeah, and you're not going back to work. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. Because I had still had, you know, people booked for a couple more weeks, so whatever, it was no big deal, I took care of it. But so yeah, so that was on the 9th. I actually did go to work the next day, but I didn't treat any patients. I just kind of gathered all the stuff I needed to do, did my billing and whatever. So I didn't have any like loose ends when I was gone. So, so I went in on December 11th at 8 p.m. for my induction. And you know, it was kind of nice because Ryan and I were able to have like one really nice like last dinner, just the two of us, before she came, and we were able to like take our time, get to the hospital. I was so emotional about leaving my dogs. I'm not sure if anyone else can relate. Like, I'm sure it can be like kind of similar to having like a second child. You just feel like you're leaving your babies, like who were once your babies, now you're, I don't know. I was just so emotional. I remember being like literally a emotional wreck. Hey guys, so just a brief interruption. So I just watched this footage and I realized I forgot to include something really important. So this may be shocking to those of you who know me, but I actually did not have a birth plan. Now, I say that's shocking because I am very regimented. I like to know what's gonna happen. I like to plan things out. I like to have control. And for some reason, I just did not feel the need to have that kind of a birth plan going into the hospital, which could to some feel like just being irresponsible, or I don't know, just like not caring, which was not the case at all. But I basically went into this whole experience with the idea that I wanted to have a vaginal birth, I was gonna have an epidural, and I wanted to do delayed cord clamping, which is already the hospital's policy actually, so I didn't have to worry about that part. But that was really it. And let me tell you, I'm really thankful that I didn't have a birth plan, because when things did not go, you know, as smoothly as planned, I didn't get upset. Like, really, all the hiccups we had, like, it was fine. Like, all I wanted was to have a healthy and safe baby, and for me to be safe and healthy, and that was really all that mattered, and that's how it worked out. So I am so thankful that I went in with some expectation, but not too many expectations. Like, it wasn't too regimented or too like outlined, because I would have been really pissed off. So that's just my idea on like the whole birth plan thing. Maybe next time, now that I've gone through it, there may be some things I kind of would ask for that I didn't ask for, or maybe I would like voice my opinion a little bit more or whatever, but I don't even know, because really it all worked out fine. So I'm really happy with how it went. And yeah, that was my like reason for not having a birth plan. That was just because I didn't want things to go wrong and then me be like really upset and like panic. So because I had no expectation, I didn't panic. Anyways, I get to the hospital, I get all checked in. They start me on my IV, which I actually forgot how much an IV kind of like burns or like hurts. I have no problem with needles. Like, I'm an acupuncturist and I don't mind getting my blood taken or anything like that. But the IV was not fun, you know. They started and they're like, oh, we're gonna do it in your arm for you, like it's gonna be much nicer than like having to worry about bending your hand all the time. I'm like, oh great, thanks. So not thanks, because it didn't work. So then they had to have like so many people try, and they're just like finally like, okay Kylie, gotta do your hand. I'm like, okay, I wish you would have just done that in the first place, but thank you for trying. So anyways, the doctor on call comes in and she's like, okay, we're gonna start you on something called Cervidil. So basically what it is, it's like a little paper tampon. It's like a flat piece of paper. Obviously there's like medicine on it, and then like a string, and they just insert it into you, and that's it, and you wait 12 hours. So she inserts it, and that was no big deal. But I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, if you've also had to have Cervidil inserted, but I got so sore, like my vagina hurt. Like, I just felt so swollen and sore down there. Like every time I go to the bathroom, I was just like, oh, it just felt so like sensitive. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so I had that in for 12 hours. And then they came in, they checked me, there was like no progress. So they started me on Cytotec, which was a pill. I took it in pill form, and you take it every 4 hours. So I took it, I think I took 2 doses, 2 or 3. Okay, I think I did 2 though. 2 doses of that, and at the second dose, after the second dose, so the 4 hours was done, or they're about to put me on a 3rd dose, and they're like, oh, you're 1 centimeter, like that's good. So we're gonna come in and have your doctor come in and break your water. I'm like, okay. And let me just call Ryan out on this part, okay? Ryan didn't obviously want to be part of this part, so he went into the bathroom and waited till it was over. And let me tell you, this was awful. Like, I've heard people talk about having their, like, getting their water broken. How do you say that? Water broke? Whatever. And they're like, oh, it's no big deal. They come in, they stick this little, like, kind of like a crochet kind of needle, or like a, you know, something like that up there, and it just does it. No, my doctor, she came in and used her finger, like, obviously a glove too, but is that normal? Please tell me, because it was so painful. Like, she was just like pressing and oh God, it was like, I remember I was just like, I started crying, and it was like, I knew that was gonna be like nothing compared to what was to come. But like, yeah, it was so uncomfortable. So I don't know if that's normal, but yeah, so she broke my water when I was 1 centimeter. And then things started to progress very quickly. They started me on Pitocin, and I'm telling you, within like, I felt like it was like 10 minutes, things just started to progress. So I was like, epidural, please. And my doctor made it very clear that I could get it no matter how, like, I could get it as early or as late as I wanted it. They would never deny it to me, which I felt really comfortable with that. But my advice to you, if you're planning on getting an epidural, just get it done like as soon as possible. What's the point in suffering? Okay, so anyways, the epidural was something that I was most scared about. I was just really nervous about it for some reason. But so the anesthesiologist came in. I think that's who does the epidural, right? Yeah, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's who it is. So they come in, and he's so nice. Like, I was like, I am so scared. He's like, don't worry. He explained the whole thing to me. He's like, it's gonna be a little pinch here, a little burn there, whatever, no big deal. It's gonna be fine. It's so worth it, you know. And I promise I'll talk you through it. And he did. He was awesome. But he does it, right? All of a sudden, I feel like the heaviest I've ever felt. And I feel like I have no control. Like, I felt like I was like my bottom half was like a ball, and I was just like, whoa, like I couldn't, and I black out. And I remember, like, I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I was like so scared because I could not feel anything. And he was like, Kylee, don't worry. They were talking me through it. They're like, don't worry, we're gonna pump some, I think it was saline, I can't be 100% certain, into your IV, and I could feel it. So they're like, you know, you're gonna be feeling better in about 60 seconds. Like, just, you know, just don't be scared. Just hold on. I'm like, so I'm like panicking, right? But I was comforted because he was talking me through it. So I was like passed out. I couldn't move, and then I felt like I wanted to throw up. You know, like sometimes you pass out, you throw up. I don't know, but I could not. It was the scariest feeling. I could not throw up because I was numb. Like, I was literally numb from like here down. And that was one of the scariest things ever. But he was right. Within like 60 seconds or so, they had me back up, and he's like, Kylee, I'm so sorry. What happened was sometimes the epidural goes a little bit too far. It slips past the epidural space. I hope I'm explaining this right, but I'm obviously not a doctor, but it goes past the epidural space, and you basically got a dose as if you were getting a C-section, and it just didn't go right. So he's like, I'm so sorry, but we're gonna have to do it again. And he's like, but good news is this time you shouldn't feel anything because you're already numb. So I was like, okay, like no problem, just like please get it right, because I was like so stressed, okay? And I just didn't want to pass out again. That was just like not fun. So he gets the second epidural done. It was no big deal, just like he said. Like, I didn't feel anything. And I forgot to add, the first time, the only thing I really felt was I felt a tiny pinch when he was doing the numbing stuff. And then I did feel a little bit of like an electrical shock down my right leg, which that's what I was most like worried about, because I heard people like describe that, and that just like freaks me out. But I did feel a little bit of that, but it was like, it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it was totally tolerable. So anyways, the second one is all done. I'm laying there, I think, oh, smooth sailing, like it's gonna be good from here on out. Nope. About an hour or so goes by. And by the way, something else I forgot was she broke my water at 10 p.m. So this time it's probably around like maybe 1. I don't know. I'm just like guessing this time. It starts to get really bad. And by really bad, I mean like I am like screaming. Like, I am not having relief. Like, it was awful. And the weirdest thing was that I wasn't having like any cramping or anything like that. It was, the pain I was feeling was in my butt, like my butthole. TMI, sorry, but this is a birth story. So what did you expect? So it was like the most excruciating. It felt like someone was inside of me stabbing my butthole from the inside. I don't know, that's the only way I can explain it. And I was not having it. So I'm screaming, I'm like calling him every second. He keeps coming in. They keep giving me more medicine in there. It's just, it's not working. And also we had control of it. So like every time you could possibly push it again, we were pushing it again. It just wasn't working. So after a long time, and I'm like getting just exhausted and I'm just like screaming, he comes in, he's like, Kylee, I'm so sorry to say this, but I think we're gonna have to do it for a third time. And he explained something, and obviously it's such a blur, I don't remember exactly, so I can't explain it perfectly, but he's something about the nerves and the way that like sometimes epidural works for this area, sometimes it works for this area, like something like that. So he's like, right now, obviously the nerves you're having so much pain, that area, the epidural just did not hit that spot for you. So I think if I do it one more time and I actually place it a little bit lower, it could be beneficial. You should not be in this much pain. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Like, he felt terrible. Like, he was like crushed. And so I was like, okay, what's the risk? Because he said he usually wouldn't recommend this. And he said, you know, there's risk of infection since you've had now multiple punctures or whatever. And I was like, I mean, I could not do this. So I was like, please just do it again. So he did, and it was no big deal. And actually, I think my mom might have stayed with me this time because Ryan, poor thing, he was so stressed out. Like, my mom and Carmen had arrived like sometime after my first and second one. Flower, please. My dogs always. So yeah, so I got the third one. And let me tell you, I think that was around like 3 a.m. Smooth sailing. The rest of the night, I went to sleep. Like, it was so sweet. My mom, my sister, and Ryan, the whole night, they were taking turns, like waking up. Well, they weren't sleeping much anyways, and pushing my epidural button because literally they were just so scared of me getting back to that same state that I was in previously that they just like did not let that medicine run out. I think how it works is that automatically pumps a certain amount no matter if you push it or not. So it never stops working, but then you can push a little extra. So I was getting all the extra. Okay, so now it's the next morning and I slept wonderfully. Like, I slept like a baby. It was awesome. And it's about 10 a.m. I think. I'm just waking up and they kept coming in and checking on me, and you know, finally they're like, let's check you and see your progress. And literally it was like maybe one, they came back and they checked so frequently, and then they came back around like one, they're like, let's check. They're like, whoa, ready to push. I'm like, cool, really? Because I could feel nothing. Like, it was so awesome. I couldn't tell anything was happening. So I mean, that's a lot of progress, you know, for just me sleeping. So they came in, I think it was around like 2, and with the doctor, and something really cool. I had always had in my mind like it was gonna be some chaotic, hectic, like nurses and doctors everywhere, me pushing and like screaming, like people were yelling at me, and like a lot of stress and chaos, and it was nothing like that. In the room when they came in to start like some practice pushes, which was like 1 or 2, it was like so peaceful. It was literally me, the doctor, my mom, my sister, and Ryan, and then a nurse. And I think there was one other nurse like doing some stuff like getting ready for Harper, but it was so peaceful. And like the doctor was just like so chill. She's like, okay, like let's just go ahead and get started. So it's probably like around 2:05 or 2:10 by the time I start pushing, and it was so calm. Like, I can't explain to you. It was so peaceful and so calm. But the epidural, like, since I was so numb for all the contractions and stuff, for like getting dilated, I didn't feel anything after that point. I thought that pushing would be that same way, but that actually was not the case. And the funny thing is, right before I started pushing, my mom's like, I think she needs more epidural. And the nurse is like, you're out again? Because I already had it refilled once or twice. And she's like, are you guys still pushing this? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh no, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be pushing this anymore. Like, we need her to feel a little bit while she's pushing so she can tell what she's doing. And we're like, oh shoot, like whatever. But the truth was, even though we pushed all the way up till time, I could definitely still feel when I was pushing. Like, I could feel pressure, and like I felt down there. I could feel it. And although it was uncomfortable, it was awesome. So anyways, I started pushing probably around like 2:10. I did like a couple rounds. You do like 10 seconds and then take a break, 10 seconds, take a break, 10 seconds. You do like rounds of 3. That's what I did. So anyways, finally I'm pushing, and I can feel it, and I could hear them say like, oh, look at her head or whatever. And now I regret not having the mirror. I wish I would have had the mirror to see it, but I was just nervous. I was like, what if it makes me nauseous or something? Or what if I faint? Like, I did not want to deal with that. So anyways, next time I probably would do the mirror, but this time I did not. And they're like, oh, her head, and I could feel, like, I could feel that I was like stretched, right? And so, okay, she's like, okay, you can take a break. I'm like, no. So I lay there for a second, and I'm like, excuse me, actually, can I push again? She's like, oh my gosh, please, like, go for it. And I push, and I can feel like that she's coming. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting this done. I'm getting her out, and out she came. So at 2:28 p.m. Harper was born, and it was the best moment of my life. I'll try to insert some footage. I had Carmen kind of like sneak record. So I have a little bit, and I just had no words. You'll hear in the video, I was like, like, I don't even know what I was saying, but I was in pure shock. There was so much joy. Like, It was the best day of my whole life, and it was so empowering and so amazing. Like, I cannot explain it to you. Just knowing that you just did something like so awesome. Oh my God, I would do it again 100 times if I could. Okay, so yeah, so she came out at 228. She was born, she was perfect. She was 7 pounds 7 ounces, and she was 20.5 inches long, and it was just the best. So they put her on my chest. I had 2nd degree tearing, so the doctor like stitched me up or whatever, but actually before that I think I had to birth the placenta. I had heard people say that, right? Like, obviously you push your placenta out, but I didn't know, like, it was actually intense. Like, it felt kind of like I was having another baby. Like, really, I could still feel that same like pressure and like stretching. Like, I could feel it coming out. Like, it must have been, it was pretty big. I got a picture of it actually, but yeah, it was crazy. That's actually quite the experience. You know, they don't really like, people talk about that, but I feel like it's like no big deal. Oh, it just like slips right out. For me, I like actually had to like push it out. So is that normal? I don't know. But yeah, it was awesome. It was the best experience of my life. Like, so amazing. And then one other thing I forgot to say, the first or second night, I think it was the first night I was there, they said, hey, your doctor offered you some Ambien if you want, just so you can get a good night's rest, because you'll obviously need your energy. And I actually took that. And I feel like my instinct was like, no, don't take anything. Like, you don't need it. But honestly, for myself, I took it, and I don't know if it really helped me sleep. I think I would have slept fine anyways. So that's something I'd recommend. If they offer it to you and you feel comfortable, I would just go for it, because you do really need your rest. That might be like one of the last nights you get sleep your whole life. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, so she was on my chest. They were like stitching me up and, you know, pushing on my stomach, which they do every 15 minutes or so after, just to kind of get the rest of the blood and make sure there's no clotting. I think that's the reason, which is uncomfortable, but it's bearable. I mean, you have your baby on your chest and you're so obsessed and you're so in love that nothing else in the whole wide world literally matters. Like, I don't remember anything besides like her. But yeah, it was awesome. And then about 2 hours later, so 2 hours after birth at the hospital that I gave birth in, they take you down to mother and baby. So you leave labor and delivery and go down to mother and baby. And so they took me down, and on our way down we had a new nurse with us, and she was like, hey, has she been doing this? Like, Harper was breathing kind of funny. I honestly can't remember what she was doing exactly, but it was something the way her chest was rising, and we were like, we think so. Like, we don't know, we've never had a baby. Like, I don't know what's normal or not. I thought, you know, whatever. And she's like, you know, I think we need to just take her down to the NICU and just have them look at her. So I was like, okay, like, no big deal. I was just in so much like bliss, and it was just the best. So I'm mother baby, they're getting me all set up, and Ryan goes to NICU with her. And then in another video, I'm gonna share our NICU story. But the first 2 hours were just pure bliss, and I got to eat, and it was awesome. But something else I do want to add that I forgot to say. People told me, like, when you get there, they're not gonna let you eat at all. So like, make sure you eat a good meal and whatever. And I did, I had a good meal. But actually, because I wasn't like dilating, so it was like after the 12 hours with the Cervidil, they were like, okay, if you want to eat, you can eat. I'm like, cool. So I got to eat. And then there was like another time, I think after the side attack, they were like, if you want to eat, you can eat. So I felt like I wasn't starving ever. Like, I got to actually eat a lot. So something just to throw out there. Like, I was really stressed about not being able to eat, but I got to eat. So I don't know if that's normal. But yeah, that is my birth story, or Harper's birth story. Giving birth is one of the greatest experiences of my life. I feel so incredibly lucky and blessed, and I am just so obsessed with her, and I would seriously do the whole experience, 3 epidurals and all over again. And one more thing about the epidurals, although that was a pretty crappy experience, I trusted that doctor so much that I would actually let him do it again for me. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the way he treated me and because of the way he explained things. And I never for a second doubted his ability. And he made me feel so comfortable and so safe, even though things were going wrong. So I don't know, it was really important that I shared that, because it might seem like, oh God, like he must have sucked or whatever, and I do not think that at all. I think sometimes things just don't go right, and it's okay. And obviously in the end it was okay, so maybe I have a different outlook on it. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Even though I had that kind of rough experience, I would definitely still get an epidural again, and if he was my same doctor for it, then I would still allow him to administer it, because I really truly liked him and I think he really cared. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this birth story. Let me know in the comments below if you liked it. If there are any similarities in our birth stories, please let me know. Like I said, I am gonna film a NICU story as well because I think it's really important. But yeah, let me know what you want to see next. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Gosh, they're really, really nice. They're like taking all these tests, like blood work. They took a urine sample. I'm on like a fetal monitor, weeks. It was just a lot. That's just the nicest way for me to put it. It was excruciating though. Like I was like, oh, I was just unsure if it would make me feel nauseous or something to see her coming out. Now I regret that. I wish I would have watched her come out, because that was my birth story. Like, I feel like it was just a dream, and that whole time, like, just looking at him, I felt bad. Like, I knew he just was so incredibly stressed because obviously I was going through pain and he could not like help me. I know it was very stressful for him, and I think that sometimes people don't give their partners, like husbands or whatever, boyfriends, credit for like them being there too, because it is slightly traumatic on them as well. Like, obviously it's traumatic on the person giving birth, but it's also traumatic for anybody else who is ouch in the room, because it's a lot and it's intense, and that's the best way I can describe it, is intense. Now, I can't explain to you how scared I was going into the hospital. Like, I was so stinking scared. Like, I knew it had to happen, but I was so scared. And now I am not scared. And I know they always say, like, you forget about like the pain you went through or whatever after, like, over time you forget, and that's true. Or it just becomes like less important because you love your baby so much. Go back and do the exact same experience. Have 3 epidurals if I had to have her back. Ouch. Or just to do it again.